Greetings, folks, and welcome back to Red Dwarf Rewatch, presented by the Not Funny Guys. I am your host, Dr. John, and today we'll be continuing Series 5 with Episode 1. We have arrived, and this episode is Holoship. This is directed by Juliet May. Remember, we have a new director. I may not mentioned this last time. We're still written by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. Our new director is because Ed By, our former one, had agreed to direct a new other series, The Full Wax, fronted by his wife Ruby Wax, who we saw back in the Time Slip episode as the lifestyles of the disgustingly rich. The new director, Juliet May, found it hard to work with science fiction elements initially, which were much more involved and complex than in the previous, and eventually left before the series was completed. So she will only be us for the last time, and the remaining episodes will actually be directed by our creators, Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. But this episode was released on the 20th of February, 1992. Let's get into a summary. Rimmer is abducted by holograms of a superior intelligence and taken to their space vessel, with itself being holographic in nature. There, Rimmer's physical presence and is actually touch things for once. He is apparently offered, and it's a regular crew and mandate that he have sex twice daily as a health requirement. Okay, let's be clear. But there is no emotional attachment. They have supposedly evolved beyond this. Rimmer applies to join the crew, feeling that this might be the chance to become an officer, to be something, get a life. To do this, he must pass an exam against a fellow hologram, which is complicated when he discovers that his opponent is Nirvana Crane, played by Jane Horrocks, a female hologram who he has fallen for, and she fallen for him. So much for being involved. Let's take a breakdown. So we open with the crew on Starbug watching what appears to be, it feels like a little bit like Casablanca, but it's not. It's a cheesy romantic movie. Lister is like an emotional wreck. He's chewing on his hair, crying, and Rimmer just doesn't buy any of this. He thinks this is sappy and stupid. He's criticizing it to hell. Apparently the cat didn't even watch it. He fell asleep before the main show started, according to what Crichton relates back to him during the opening commercial. Like your little go to the food stand or the stuff like that at the beginning. They sometimes, let's go to the, gosh, I can't remember what it's called. It's old stuff. It's apparently the whole premise of the thing is about a man choosing a woman over this perfect job. River doesn't believe in this. He even just makes a crack about Jesus learning magic and somehow not going into showbiz. He's like, he'd carry a cross. How would he not just dump that on somebody and run away, punt? Lister basically criticism, you're missing the point. Not uncommon for Rimmer. Crichton tells the cat they have no defenses as another ship appears to be coming at them. It turns out, luckily, it's a hologram ship. But before that, a hologram portal comes onto the ship itself. It doesn't register on the scanners, so they actually can't detect it. It has no mass. And then the entity leaves, and the ship is revealed, and at this point, Rimmer vanishes. And this is kind of a running gag of Cat saying we should blast them or we put our shields up, and Crichton has to say that would be a wonderful idea with one or two major problems. So now Rimmer vanishes. He's on the Holoship with other holograms. He can touch, he can taste, and more. Told everything is a hologram, the ship and all, and this is where he is met by the crew, including Navigational Officer Nirvana Crane. The ship is piloted by the smartest holograms ever. Basically, Space Corps' finest. They all have super IQs. He's being led to the bridge at this point. He's getting the lowdown about recreational sex. There's a room for it on the ship. And apparently twice daily is a ship regulation. No partner needed. In fact, it's the highest form of rudeness to refuse, actually. Bad manners. They apparently discarded the idea of family and relationships back in the 25th century, or for us in the future, this will be coming for us. Love as well. They have claimed we have evolved beyond it. Crichton is worried that about Rimmer and where he's gone. He's on the ship. Cat wants to just be like, oh, good riddance. Like they said, the ship has 0 mass, and this is when Crichton realizes that it is a holoship. It's crewed by a hollow crew who they despise stupidity. They then have a member of the holoship appear named Binks. Comes on board. He's criticizing the crew like they're specimens to be analyzed and cataloged. He roasts the hell out of them. And then Lister starts pushing back with irony on Binks' commentary. The holoship, we learn, is called the Enlightenment. And then Lister eventually gets so annoyed that he starts threatening him and goes to get a hollow, plans he's going to go get a hollow whip, and Binks runs away. Rimmer is finally introduced to the captain, and everybody identifies them by their name, their officer rank, and their IQ. We meet at one point we meet one of the middle of the crew is Commander Randy Navarro, IQ 194. This is played by Simon Paisley Day, who, if you have not seen a lot of science fiction or British television, he's gotten around. He was General Quinn in the Rise of Skywalker films. Quick plug for the fact that we're covering that over on the main podcast. We'll be getting to that soon. That's our final Star Wars film. The Eagle, I've seen him in Midsummer's Murders. I like one of the very few British murder mystery shows I really enjoy. He also this appears to be, according to his IMDb, his first acting job. I bet probably most people, if you are a Doctor Who fan, would know him from The End of the World, which is the second episode in Series 1 as the Steward, when we brought back the Doctor in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. That's a side note. Personal side note. Rimmer is very impressed by the ship. It's, like I said, ship of basically superhumans. Wants to join the crew, talks of effectively guiding Red Dwarf for 4 years. He's lying out his butt, trying to blow smoke. But in order to join, he needs to challenge a crew member to beat them in an intellectual test. The computer can choose his partner. In fact, it predicts the future with an up to 5% inaccuracy, so 95% accuracy. He has 24 hours to prepare for this test, and they pick one that he has a 96% chance of losing to. He and Crane sort of have a thing. They end up sleeping together, and she's like, something's weird. And you know what that weirdness is, folks? She's fallen in love. She talks about him making love like a Japanese meal, small portions, but so many of them. Oh gosh, I don't know if that's a compliment or but Rimmer's even kind of a little bit in love too, but she seems to be more smitten than him. We then come to find out after Rimmer leaves her quarters to prepare, she's his opponent. He returns to Red Dwarf, and he's got to come up with a plan. He basically pressures Crichton into basically conducting a mind patch to raise his IQ to win the competition. Thinks this is what he's convinced this is what he really wants. Talks about left home at 16 to become an officer and end up a chicken soup machine operator. That takes us all the way back. Rimmer is he's still trying to impress his family. His mother, his father, his brothers. He's still carrying that kind of trauma of childhood. So Crichton agrees to help him. He's using the minds of 2 dead crew members to enhance Rimmer's access to their knowledge, but it will impossibly mess him up. But he will have control, but these minds will have a distinct impact. He then says, glory or insanity awaits. As a result of this, his personality has changed a little bit. He's almost acting like a completely different person, like one of the other crew members whose mind he's melded with. He's got glasses and a personality of one of those dead officers, and Lister kind of like is unfamiliar when he sees like, who is this? The test is incredibly difficult. Rimmer tries to go over the top and do it even more impressively than he should. Tries to take 2 tests simultaneously, and while he's in the process, his brain weirds out. The patch has failed. He runs back to the Red Dwarf from the holoship. And then he stumbles upon the crew making interviews for their new hologram. Applicants are not crazy about joining them. In fact, one of the applicants, a Miss Harrison, won't accept and thinks that she'd be better off another opportunity. She was reminded that would mean dead, and she's like, yep. Crichton reveals to him that the mind patch has rejected him. Nothing can be done. He gets mad at them for basically holding a replacement interview, and he then decides to leave and withdraw. He runs into Crane on the way. She tells her the truth of his cheating. She doesn't care. She's in love with him. He talks about how the H on his head always seemed to him to stand for half-witted. He wanted to be someone. She tries to pep talk him. She loves him. Tells him not to give up. Back on the ship, We see him return, and we can't. It's one of those fake out scenes where you're not sure, did he win, did he not? He gives no emotion, and he tells him he won. And he says that his opponent withdrew. So he's an officer now. He's going to leave the next day. And we come to find him saying his farewells. He's in his uniform. His goodbye is awful. It's like, you are people I consider that I met. I wouldn't say you're friends. He then transfers over to Enlightenment, gets his quarters, and he realizes quickly this is Crane's quarters. He should know. He slept with her in there. Finds out that she was his opponent, and this kind of messes with him completely. On the bridge, he goes to the captain. He resigns, says Crane is in love with him, won't believe it. The captain does not believe this. We've evolved past this. She cared more about his happiness than her life. And the captain reminds him he could have everything, but gives it up for Crane. And now this comes back to the whole movie they were watching, where he said that would be ridiculous. And now he's having a sort of a deep sense of irony reflected back on him. He's now engaging in that element. The captain says, you'll never be together. And then he has become that sappy movie they watched earlier. The music plays over it as he basically says, like, he's willing to live with it. And it has this old time movie exit kind of music. And oh my God, even he's disgusted by it, but absolutely hilarious. So that leads us into series 5. All right. Next time we have the Inquisitor. So I look forward to that next week. We will have that one out. So stay with us and come back and join us then. In the meantime, like, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know some things about how you like what I'm doing. If there's things I could be doing better, I'm always open to that advice. So you can write us email down below, or you can check the ticker I've got up now. You can reach us and write to us at notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. Write to us, tell us things. You can comment on this, you can comment on our other things, but I'm specifically asking you here to comment on this thing that I'm doing here in this little YouTube world. If you don't mind, I would greatly appreciate it. But of course, if you want to partake of any of our Not Funny products, you can also look into our main podcast. That's Not Funny Guys Presents Off the Reels, where we do movies. As I hinted to earlier, we are in the back end now of our Star Wars rewatch. Now, we've been doing them in chronological order in universe. So we started with episode 1, The Phantom Menace. We moved on to episode 2. Was that Attack of the Clones? Yeah. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And then we went to Solo, a Star Wars story, and then Rogue One, a Star Wars story, before we then went to episode 4, A New Hope, episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, and episode 3, Return of the Jedi. I'm sorry, I want to say episode 3. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Now, this coming week, we are moving on to, and you will be able to get with the sequel series that I expect to be very disappointed by. But if you also tune in, you can check out my son, my 9-year-old son, as he gives his little input on these. I assure you, he's not doing it live. I would never let Casey and Eric, my fellow Not Funny Guys, use the language they use in response to him, so they don't actually ever hear what he says. But we'll be moving into the sequels with The Force Awakens, followed by, and we'll eventually get to Rise of Skywalker. We'll see General Quinn and our gentleman here from this episode of Red Dwarf. So come and join us for that. If that's not your flavor, we do have my other colleagues, Casey and Eric, the other Not Funny Guys. They do their podcast, Wrestling with the Horror of It All, where they basically, they just went down to Orlando last month for the little Fright Night, whatever, Horror Nights thing, all that fun stuff. But they basically, on their podcast, they actually cover wrestling and horror movies. And in October right now, they're doing like a horror movie a day. So they are masochists. So you can check that out. And if you are more of a little bit of a more kind of intellectually bend, I don't know if it's your flavor or not, but I do another podcast with our Not Funny gal, Dr. Kristen, and I have the Not Funny Guys Present Thinking About Thinking, where we talk about random topics, things that are intellectual. So it gets philosophical, it gets academic, it gets interesting all the place. We've done history, we do all kinds of topics. We trade off once a week, and they come out every week on a Thursday. So if you want to check those out, pick your flavor. Sometimes, unfortunately, Dr. Kristen tends to have things that are a little bit more lighthearted, and I tend to bring it down to something a little bit more serious and scary. So pick your poison. Yeah. But please like and subscribe to any of those if you like. Subscribe to our channel here. And we will see you next time. Remember to take care of yourselves. Don't be a smeghead. And keep it not funny.